Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our third installment of Warrior Women Wednesdays. I am Lena Charity Shapira, coming to you live from Tongva and Chumash land. And I am Senior Engagement Manager here at Calling All Crows. For those of you who may not be familiar with our work, Calling All Crows works to mobilize music fans to join feminist movements for justice and equality. We work with partners exactly like Return to the Heart Foundation, and we are so thrilled to be here again, shining a light on the work of Indigenous women. Gina, can you tell us a little bit more about what we're doing today?
Uhagani, Nia Nana Binya. I'm Gina Jackson, Western Shoshone and Ogallala with Return to the Heart Foundation. I'm co-founder and co-CEO. And today, we have an awesome lineup. This week, we have first up, Angela Howe from Choke Cherry Creek. Angela is a designer that I actually met in person earlier this year when she had come to Reno and did a show. She's new and upcoming and has some amazing designs, and we get to learn a little bit about her and her story. We have Michelle Shenandoah from Rematriation. Michelle is, again, like a rock star, amazing woman who is just doing such good work. So you're going to learn a little bit about her as a person and also her organization, Rematriation, and some of the cool high-tech stuff like a new app that they have out. And then we have Christine Sikowitz Novus. Christine is one of the first persons who coined the term truths giving. And truths giving is about not necessarily not celebrating Thanksgiving, but going to a deeper level of understanding and bringing the truth out. So when you are, with family or friends, that you're talking truth and not just celebrating a holiday because you have the day off, but going to a deeper level of understanding and ultimately healing when you know the truth. The truth really is the starting point for healing. And then finally, we have Nicole Gonzalez. Nicole is, again, just another one of the warrior women who is just doing amazing things. She's with Changing Women, but also is branching off to her own new work in consulting and uplifting and strengthening and coaching Native women. So if those are some of the things that you need, definitely pay attention. All of our speakers give their information for contact later and how we can learn more about them and their work. So we have an amazing slate today.
Perfect. And Gina, we're going to just let you start off here. We're so excited to see all of these incredible speakers today.
Okay.
Hi, Angela. I'm so excited that you're here with us for Warrior Women Wednesday. And we're really interested in learning more about you and your journey and path to be where you are today with Choke Cherry Creek. Love your work, love your art, love all of your stuff. I want more. And I just wanted to have you come and share today a little bit about, yourself, your journey. How did you get here? But to kick off, I'll pass it to you to just give a quick introduction about yourself.
Okay. Well, Shodaji, Balaja, Ikulasashuk. I come from the Whistling Water clan and child of the Big Lodge clan. I am Absalaga, which is Crow, and I'm Pakani, Blackfeet. And I'm from Crow Agency, Montana, but I make my home in Billings. And I have been doing fashion for a long time, but I made it official. Launched a little under 2 years ago, did my first fashion show, and I've been just like going ever since. And launched, I think I have 5 collections now. After this month is over, month of November, Native American Heritage Month, I will have done 5 fashion shows just this month. So I've been really busy. But I'm a mother of 3 and I'm a wife, and so that's what's the most important to me. But yes, I love fashion. I've always loved fashion. And I think back even when I was a kid, I had a play sewing machine. got it for Christmas. So like I've been, I've always been into sewing and stuff. And um, I also was inspired by my relatives, my grandmothers and my aunts, and even inspired from my dad who used to bead. Um, they inspired me and taught me how to bead. And then my mom, she taught me to sew. And she actually did fashion in the 80s, late 80s, as a college student at Montana State University. And I went there too. That's where I graduated from. And I just had a show at the university on Monday. So it was very cool, full circle moment. One of the other designers, Brocade, her mother and my mother went to school together there and did fashion. So they were doing contemporary fashion back in the 80s. And I was actually a little girl and I modeled, telling my age now. But yeah, it all started from, my mom inspiring me. I've always made like regalia, and like I've been sewing since like junior high, but I started to do regalia for my kids and my husband, and beading, and I just love it. And it's like, it's my passion. I love to, when I'm home, just I get up, go in my craft room, and I just start beading and kind of start the day with meditation and prayer and good thoughts, and put those good things into my work. So that's kind of my daily schedule, but I just love to do it. And I wanted to keep doing it and keep creating. And I had to, in order to keep doing it, I also wanted to start a business so I can sustain, and have income as well. So it's just been great. Like I've been doing really well, and my business just took off, and I've been invited all over, and it feels so good to be invited. And this month, I mean, I'm so proud of us as Native, people. We, I mean, there's so many out there who are starting up, who are just emerging, but there's so many who paved the way and who've inspired me to do this. And I'm so proud of them. It's just so great. Like we're on fire right now, like Native fashion, our form of expression. It's just so beautiful. It's been a really great journey. So a little over a year and a half, I've been doing fashion shows, but it's been years in the making that I've gotten to this point, and a lot of encouragement from my family and my friends and my husband. And, they believed in me when I had a lot of self-doubt starting out. I was like, when I got asked to do the first fashion show, I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm so excited to do this fashion show. And then the next thing I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like all this self-doubt, like, what am I doing? I can't do this. And then I have a wake-up call, everybody around me is like, of course you can. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't have time. But I think I had like 6 months, and I just felt like it wasn't enough time. But I pulled through, and I, created. So what I do is I do like the couture looks, handmade by me. And I started to do some like upcycling, because my mom always did that. She always, recycled things and used fabrics from an old dress or whatever, go to the thrift store and use, so I'm doing that a lot more too. And so I sew, and then I also started to do the ready to wear stuff too, to sell. And so I just operate out of my home, and I have all these bins of all the clothes, and I package them with love. And these last collections, the last two collections are the Upsalagat collection. And this shirt is from the Upsalagat collection. So I come up with the designs that are usually inspired by the beadwork and, of course, my roots. And then I had family and friends that also on my Blackfeet side were like, okay, well, what about us? And what about our Blackfeet side? And so then I came up with the Blackfeet collection. And those are the current collections that I have available still. So I package everything, and some of my stuff is like ready to go, and then I have some things that are like pre-order, pre-sale stuff that takes a little bit longer, like 4 weeks. So I've just been busy running the business and traveling, and that's just kind of what I've been up to.
Awesome. What would you tell folks who are out there who have dreams of doing, stepping out and doing something? What would you tell those folks who are hesitating or just haven't had a chance to take that step?
Oh, I would just say, if I can do it, you can do it. I was a young mother. I got pregnant. I was 17. I've, been with my husband. We're high school sweethearts, and we've been together for a lot of years. And I had my daughter. I was 18, and I've always had an entrepreneur spirit, I guess. I've always, had different businesses, and I just, I wanted to make a way where I could stay home with her. So I actually had like a daycare. I mean, I did what I could. I always worked. So, and I grew up in a lot of the same similar, situations and same historical traumas and, dysfunctions, and grew up in a dysfunctional home. And, you know, I always say that if I can do it, you can do it, because I come from the same environment, from the res. And but I'm very thankful that, my parents, they left and got their education and came back and worked, for our tribes. But like, my mom, she was the educator for many years, and um, they inspired me, and so did my grandmothers. So I just, if, if I didn't have that, I didn't have the role models in my life, I don't know where I'd be. And so I always hope to inspire young people and anyone who wants to get into fashion. There's room for you. And I I love what I went to a workshop, and I love what Bethany Yellowtail said. And I didn't want to steal her words, they're her words, but she was talking about, we as Indigenous people, we hold so much value. And so, being a designer, the clothes we make, it just holds so much value, and it's, has so much meaning behind it. Where else are you going to go buy a shirt that has so much meaning behind it? The designs, the colors, and it's something that it's so special to be able to create and make beautiful things and express our culture in this way. It's something that directly links you to your culture. And we're all so unique. And so anyone who wants to start, you don't have to be like me, a crow, or, you don't have to do designs like me. You can, we're all so unique. We can use what we've learned and show our uniqueness of, from where we come from. And, you don't have to compare yourself to anyone. You just kind of go at your own pace, make a plan. That's important. I wish that somebody would have told me that, like, make your plan, what you want. But I actually, things have turned out way better than I even thought, because I actually just thought, oh, I'm going to do this fashion show I got invited to. And then maybe I'll sell some clothes, and I'll be home. But it didn't turn out that way. I got invited to the RES in Las Vegas, the Reservation Economic Summit. And that was right after my first show. And that just like propelled me to another level. And I didn't even have social media. I wasn't on social media for a while. I wasn't on like Facebook for like 8 years. I didn't have a page, a business page. I created a page right before I started my first show. I created a business page because everybody's like, you don't have a business page? And I'm like, okay, yes, I'm pressured. I got to do this, right? So anyway, I started the business page, and then, things just took off, and I started to get lots of following. And, it's always about, I mean, it's hard for me. I feel like I'm not sharing enough sometimes, but yeah, I just, it wouldn't be without my community and without the support and the people that are behind me, everyone who's sharing and liking and believing in me, and even when I didn't believe in myself. And so there's people out there, there are people out there who will support you and will encourage you and uplift you and help you to elevate to that next level. And I feel like that's what happened for me. I really feel like I feel so much love. Even, I mean, from every show, if we've had great shows, but meeting people, that's just been my favorite part, meeting the models and all of the indigenous, um, all the people who work toward the events, the producers and the ones all behind the scenes doing hair and makeup and the photographers, and just it's just been like, um, being able to meet all these beautiful, talented people. That's been one of my favorite parts this year and a half of traveling. And it's just so inspiring, like talking with people. Sometimes you don't even know what that what you're doing is inspiring, or you don't realize that people are even noticing. And like, I'm not even noticing sometimes, like, that I have such a big following now, and I have like almost 20,000 followers on my Facebook page that I just started, and it's like, you don't even realize how many people are watching you and noticing you and seeing your stuff. But it just brings me so much joy. Like, I'm very humbled, like I'm about to cry. Very humbled that, people are loving the stuff that I'm doing and supporting me. And I've always been a supporter too. And so I think it's a full circle moment too with, that, because you know, um, I just had Instagram before, and I would always share. I love native fashion. And so, of course, I'm like, before I was doing fashion, I was always supporting, and I'm still supporting. But I love, Lauren Goodday. I love Bethany Yellowtail, Jamie Oakman. And, to be in this journey and then have, like, I'm going to cry, really. I mean, to be in this journey and then have the people who inspired me say kind messages, and like, I ask them something and they're not being gatekeepers, they're really sharing this knowledge and, encouragement. And Bethany Yellowtail was she's a Crow, we share the same tribe. And she was at my first show, and she came up to me and said, we took a picture, and then she said, keep going. And that meant so much to me. And so, anyone out there, that's my message to you: keep going. Anytime we do something, even if it's beading or any craft or whatever, you're not going to be the best at it the first time you do it. And as you keep doing it, you get better and better and better. And so don't be discouraged if you're doing something, you designed something and it didn't go so well, and maybe people didn't buy as much of it that you thought. Just keep going for it, and don't give up. And, I'm thankful. That's always been something my husband's always, for those of you who don't know, my husband is Superman Christian Parish. He travels all over. And for years and years, I've, supported him and kind of worked behind the scenes and managed things. And, my kids were smaller. And so now, my two older children have left the nest. So sad. And I have my 14-year-old now at home. And so it's kind of easier for me to travel. So all the timing of everything is just kind of fallen into place. But I think everything's gotten me prepared. Me managing his merch, his website for, some years there. Now my daughter's kind of taken over, and, I'm so thankful. It's just like a family affair though, with all of this. And, my career now, it's really a family affair. And even the friends that are part of my journey are my family now too. And the sisterhood, like this sisterhood that I have with these beautiful, talented women that we all push each other. I love that. I love that about us, Indigenous business women, that we support and push one another, to whereas you look at the corporate world, the non-native culture, it's individualistic, and corporations want to take each other down, whereas with us, we want to lift each other, we want to elevate each other. And there is that drama, there's that dysfunction, within our communities that we experience. But, I just try to stay positive and keep moving on. And
So
just,
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
If folks want to find your stuff, where can they go? And is there any upcoming things you want to mention?
Um, yeah. So, well, you can find my stuff on my website, chokecherrycreekdesigns.com. And then I have, let me see, I have Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week on November 22nd. And then I'm going to the Native Max Takes on the Northwest Fashion Show on the 25th of November with Native Max, Kelly Holmes. And then I'll come home and then I'll be home for a few weeks. And then I'm going to Scottsdale where I forgot what they're titling it, but it's the Lloyd Kiva New, a film on Lloyd Kiva New by Nathaniel Fuentes. And they are doing the screening. And he was a designer. He has an incredible story and just an amazing human who he kind of let go of the fashion after a while just to do work in his community and was a huge advocate for education. And so me and Sky Eagle Collection, Dante Biss, will be doing that show. It's a fundraiser, VIP event in Scottsdale. So that's on December 7th. So that's exciting.
Wow. Well, that's so wonderful. Hopefully folks can get out there and check things out and find you online and see what you have. I know the last time I looked, I was like, things are starting to sell out already. I'm like, no, I need
know. Yeah, that's why I started the pre-sale stuff because I'm like, okay, I gotta have some stuff for pre-sale because I'm selling out of some of the stuff because it's a challenge. I'm learning.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And we look forward to following you and your next collections that are coming out and are just excited to be one of your supporters.
Gina, thank you for having me. I was very happy that you asked me. I can talk fashion all day. My husband laughs at me because one time, if someone asked me to do some podcast and I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about? And he's like, what do you mean? What are you going to talk about? You can talk about fashion all day.
All right. Well, take care and we'll see you on the road.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, Michelle. It's so good to have you today with us for Warrior Women Wednesday. We are lifting up and interviewing amazing women across the U.S. who are doing great work in their communities, in their regions, and even in their nations, and some even globally. And so I invited you here today to share a little bit about what is, on your heart and mind as far as your work with rematriation. And as we kick this off, would you mind introducing yourself?
Siguli, Gina, it's so nice to be here with you and return to the Heart Foundation. We're always so grateful to be in the space together. It's always so loving and embracing, and that just feels really good. I'm Michelle Shenandoah, a member of the Oneida Nation of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. I am Wolf Clan, and I am the founder of the nonprofit Rematriation. Some of you may have also seen us out there in social media land as Rematriation Magazine as well. And yeah, that's kind of a short introduction, right? Yeah.
Great. So for folks who are not familiar with Rematriation, tell us about the organization.
So Rematriation started out as a media platform to be able to tell stories of our Indigenous women from our perspective. And so it was multimedia. So we had articles, podcasts, films, and we actually still engage in that form of storytelling. But during the last few years, which included the pandemic, we really shifted our focus to really support a lot of the work that we were doing, which was a lot of the networking between our Indigenous sisters and particularly among the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. So as we evolved, we became a little bit more clear in what we do. And so we have 3 areas, which include representation, connection, and education. So in terms of representation, having visibility of Indigenous women in public spaces, supporting other Indigenous women-based events. For instance, we might have speakers or people who are being inducted into Hall of Fame, such as Joy Harjo when she was in our area. And what we'll do is we'll have Indigenous women come and show up and be visible. So we'll be skirted up, we'll be in our regalia. When we have the opportunity, we'll also take the mic to be able to share about who we are. And then connection is really centered on gathering Indigenous women in healing spaces, which we have been doing since our inception as an organization. And then education, public education is so key to helping the public understand who we are as Indigenous women, to very much humanize our experience, all of what we have to navigate through in our lives as individuals, as communities, as members of our nations, and what is the bigger landscape. So we're kind of always in those multiple spaces of operation. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, I remember last year you had launched something that was so cool. It was an app, right? Can you tell me about that?
So we have the Rematriation app, and we started out originally as an app for Indigenous women. But recently, in the last couple of years, Rematriation also shifted our focus with our younger women really taking the lead. And in that way, our younger team members decided that they wanted our app to be a place of Indigenous knowledge sharing for our Indigenous relatives. So right now it's open for any Indigenous relative to come and to be able to either share in our knowledge and our stories and our culture, or for our people to come in and to listen, to learn, to read, to hear, to participate. And so there's different types of groups that are in there, specialized, for different people's interests, and people can also create groups as well. So anybody can go on your smartphone and go to your app store and find Rematriation, and that's our app. So yeah.
Awesome. How exciting. Tell us about any other exciting things you have going on. I know that you are a Soros Fellow, and with that comes some amazing work that you're doing.
Yeah, so actually, I'm in my 2nd year of the Soros Equality Fellowship, and it's been a really fantastic journey. It has allowed me as an individual to be able to sort of like take a little bit of a step back and kind of like look at what different types of interests that I have, new projects that I want to work on. And so with that, I'm actually developing a podcast series / talk show. And this spring, I'll actually be interviewing a number of Haudenosaunee and Indigenous women and non-Indigenous women, and looking at Indigenous matrilineality and why is it so critical in the world right now to help bring about balance. And so that's a project that I currently have underway. I'm really excited about it. And from that will come other projects, one actually being a symposium that will be held, hopefully, here at Syracuse University. I live in Syracuse, New York. And with that, to really, again, just really sort of center in what are our matrilineal teachings. As and I've shared with you at Return to the Heart Foundation, and you've done some research on this, that U.S. democracy is really founded in the Haudenosaunee governance, and with that is the role of women. And that was left out of the development of the U.S. Constitution. So really what we'd like to do is to be able to share, like, well, what is the role of our women leadership, and how does that help to create a well-functioning society and democracy, and balance with our Mother Earth, which is so critical at this time.
Yes, our world would look very different today if they would have listened to the indigenous people from day one. We would not be in its climate crisis that we are in today. And what would our government look like if our women were centered, like, and not left out when they learned from your tribe about taking the pieces and building that democracy? It would look very different.
It's absolutely true, for sure. And so, there's still hope. And so we're going to share what we can, and just really hope that folks are starting to listen. I think Mother Earth is really pushing back on all of us enough to know that we have to change our way of life and how we're living as a human species, right? Yeah, as humankind on this earth. So,
So what would you say to the younger generations who are, interested in trying to make a difference in the world right now?
Yeah, I would say listen to your heart. When you feel the need to speak up, because you know what's right. You know what's true in your heart and your mind and your spirit, and follow that truth, because so much of the systems that have been created have told so many of us as Indigenous people and even human beings who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do and not do. And it's really based on a very exploitative and extractive type of living that is not in balance with our Mother Earth. And the younger people, I feel, are so connected to understanding what real inclusion looks like and what real truth feels like. And so to be able to follow that truth instinctively, and to speak up when you feel that you need to speak, when there's something that needs to be said, don't be afraid. Even if there are older generations in the room, there's different people that are in the room that you're not accustomed to speaking to, just follow that truth and keep doing it again and again and again, because our ancestors are leading us, and we're really very well connected to our teachings and our way of life. And we have to really be true to that and honor that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Return to the Heart has an annual event. It's called Summer Solstice that you came to last year and actually sent staff the prior year. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like for you, and why would anybody even want to go?
Yeah, well, now that I've actually been, I really appreciate that I did, and it's an experience that is irreplaceable. Last year, I sent 2 of my younger team members in rematriation. We really have shifted our focus to allowing younger people to lead and giving them actual real responsibility, and really also just sort of leveling out who we are internally as an organization. And so we have leads instead of directors and executive directors. Even myself, I'm a lead now, even though I'm an executive lead, but really letting our younger people experience that. So last year they went to South Dakota. I had 2 team members who are both in their young 20s, and they went and had a really wonderful experience. Just came back from the event so centered, feeling very spiritually grounded, and just very nourished on a spiritual and soulful level. And so I'm very happy that I sent them last year. This year, I said, I'm going to go this year. And so we met in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we went to Chaco Canyon. And it was incredible. It was so incredible. It was very hard to put into words, but to be in such a very spiritual center for so many people, it's really indescribable. And to be there on that day of that very powerful energy of the solstice was really very soul nourishing is the way to describe it for me. But then also being in the space with all of our sisters who are doing this work, it just really magnified, I think, all of what we're doing and really helping to amplify that work. And I feel that even since that time, many months later, I still feel that energy. It was a recharge for us, which was really, really great. And it was so wonderful to also hear all of the work that all of our sisters are doing across Turtle Island. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So thank you for creating this space for all of us.
Hi, Christine Sikowis. I am so happy you are here with us on Warrior Women Wednesday. This is a time that we get to, lift up and shine a spotlight on amazing warrior women across the nation who are just doing really good work. And one of the reasons that I asked you today is because several years ago, you came up with a campaign that's called Truth's Giving, and it just rung so true to my heart. Actually, almost anybody who hears about it knows that we need the truth. And that is critical for us moving forward and really addressing, the genocide that happened here in our country. We can't pretend it didn't happen. And as Indigenous people, we are still experiencing the ramifications, of colonization. But before, just as we get started and kick off, do you mind giving us an introduction of yourself?
Yes. Tansi, Mio Ponipitigisigao. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sikowis Nobis, and I'm Plains Cree Saulteaux, or Nehiya and Saulteaux, of the George Gordon First Nation, which is in Saskatchewan. It's in the Qu'Appelle Valley and the Touchwood Hills, and we are Plains people that lived in a little woodland area. And I grew up in Winnipeg, not too far from there. I call Winnipeg like the resiest city in North America, or in Turtle Island. We have so many natives from so many different tribes, and Métis people there. It was a really there was a lot of culture where I grew up when I was growing up, even though it was in a city. And I have been living in Iowa City now for 17 years. I came here to get my graduate degree, my master's degree in religious studies with a focus on Native American religion and culture, and a minor in a graduate minor in Native American studies. And I am the founder and executive director of Great Plains Action Society. We've been around now for 7 years, and we focus on climate and social justice issues across Iowa and eastern Nebraska, and kind of nationally as well. And we are 100% Indigenous led and run.
Awesome. Yeah, so glad to have you here today. Can you tell us the story of Truth's Giving and how that evolved?
Yes. So Truth's Giving started in my home. When I moved here, not that we didn't celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada, because we do. It's in October, I believe. But I was young and I didn't really think anything of it. And then, I didn't really do a lot of celebrating of Thanksgiving when I moved away from home between 18 and when I moved here. So I was young when I moved here, and I started celebrating American Thanksgiving. Well, I wasn't really celebrating it. We had the time off, and I wanted to eat some turkey and Indigenous foods, because frankly, that's what Thanksgiving is about. It's about eating Indigenous foods and celebrating the harvest. And it's about saying thanks for like what you have. Unfortunately, attached to that is this horrific mythology about Puritans and Wampanoag, or Indigenous peoples, sitting down together and breaking bread. And that just didn't happen. That's a complete lie. It's a fabrication, and it whitewashes the truth of what really did occur during those times. And so at home, about, I don't know, I'd say 15 years ago, I started to just say, well, let's just, we're going to get together, but we're going to celebrate Truthsgiving. And I would just make a joke about it. And we would, have our dinner and, with friends. And if family was visiting, then yes. And that's what we did. And so one year, my good friend Dave Whiting said, you should like have a public Truthsgiving event. He said, you should have an anti-Thanksgiving event. That's what he said. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And why not? And I didn't think I should call it Truthsgiving because I didn't think it sounded radical enough for like the work of what we do as Great Plains Action Society, because we're obviously very anti, this mythology. And I felt like maybe it was not strong enough. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that term and that way of looking at the event is actually fantastic, because what it does is it leaves room for people to still gather with their families and do the good parts of what Thanksgiving is, but then also like educate people on like the harms and the atrocities of what Thanksgiving is hiding. It helps to erase that mythology, and it gives people a chance to decolonize in a way. And so we went ahead and we had our first public Truthsgiving event, and I think that was 7 years ago now. And so it seems to be catching on in other places as well. I know last year, Seven Directions of Service, I think they're in North Carolina or South Carolina, they had an event. We've had events in Sioux City and Des Moines as well. And so now this year we're also having one in Marion. This is all in Iowa. And I just hope people continue to talk about it. I think last year as well, there was even like a famous TikToker who put it out there. And there was a run called the Truthsgiving Run. And then even some folks in Canada picked up on it. So, I really hope it catches on, just because like it's so hard to be Native sometimes. Like it's so hard to be for everything to be so political. And it's like, why can't we also enjoy the harvest, and our indigenous foods and our first foods, and not feel guilty about it, and then also have white people or non-Native people educated about this topic at the same time. And if you want to find out more information on it, you can go to truthsgiving.org.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, in my family, I have never done an event, but in our family, we talk about it. It's as being, let's do Truthsgiving instead of Thanksgiving. So again, we're not going to miss the turkey. My great grandparents were turkey farmers. So we're not going to miss a turkey. We're going to eat turkey, but let's just talk about the truth. Let's not, let's have some deep, loving conversation and healing, even around our own, indigenous table.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. And so what would you say to folks, like me or any other folks who are out there who either may want to try to do an event or who just want to have some advice to have those conversations around their tables?
Well, yeah, again, we do have a website with lots of resources on it, and it's at truthsgiving.org. There is a zine you can download and you can distribute. Part of Truthsgiving is taking the pledge. That's not necessarily for Indigenous peoples, but that's for non-Indigenous people so that they can teach people better, or teach their family about like what Truthsgiving is, about what Thanksgiving should not be, essentially, right? And get away from these horrific stereotypes that still exist. The little pilgrims and the little, Indians and the tomahawks and the teepees and all that, which is not okay. And another big part about truth giving that we talk about a lot is mutual aid, or like working together, working for the community, working for those that don't have their needs met, basic needs met. So for quite a few years, we've done mutual aid outreach as well as part of like our truth giving work. And that's really important.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this, and then the resource and the website that folks can go to learn more. I think a lot of times Native people have that conflict, in theory, we do not necessarily support, what Thanksgiving has been representative, but we always get together and we always eat, and we always are looking to, just have a special time to love on one another and to get to eat our traditional foods even better. So love Truth Giving. Thank you for being here and sharing on a wider level.
You're welcome. And Aiha'i Kitata Mahin for having me here.
Hi, Nicole. Welcome to Warrior Women Wednesday. I'm so glad you could be here with us today, and excited to hear your thoughts and insights and inspiration on the work that you're doing with Native women. But to get started, would you give us an introduction?
Hi, I'm Nicole Gonzalez. I'm a nurse midwife. I'm the founder of Changing Woman Initiative, which is a Native women's led health collective and a midwifery care service. And I'm also a new business owner of Transcending Strategies LLC. I'm a public speaker, writer, advocate, activist, healer, mother of 3. So there's many hats I wear. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, so good to have you here today. Now, Nicole, as a traditional helper and healer grantee, the project, Heart of Her Nation, tell us a little bit about that and how it has led you on your journey to your new business venture.
Right. So I started Changing Woman Initiative about 8 years ago, and it's very interesting as you are developing and leading important work in your community. There are definitely some challenges you can face in that process of uplifting and becoming a leader in your community. And so the purpose of the Heart of Her Nations was basically to support up-and-coming Indigenous, Native American, female, or maybe non-binary leaders as they're transitioning into their positions of power, or more or less like the emotional and spiritual support that they need in their ascension into their leadership. A lot of times this type of support doesn't happen for us. We have to learn the hard way through our decisions and our mistakes. And also there's some like leadership guidance you can get through like organizations that support your work in different ways. But in the end, a lot of it you have to figure out on your own. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be able to give back with what I've learned with my own leadership, my own development, and based off some of the relationships that I've built in the community. But more importantly, I wanted Indigenous people, Native women, to feel supported on their path to becoming the leader of their dreams, right? How they see it.
Awesome. Tell us about Transcending Strategies, and what advice would you give to other Native women out there who are thinking about stepping out and into their dreams?
Well, it's a little crazy to think that I'm a founder of a nonprofit and now I'm also the founder of a business. And in my wildest dreams, I never thought I would have both of these titles, or even the 20 years experience I have in developing these both of these types of businesses. And so I would say my biggest support system has been my community of close friends and my family. They did prayers and they did ceremony on my behalf. And some of the relationships that have developed over time. My advice to anybody considering doing big work is to believe in yourself the most and to believe in your idea. I feel like when you're starting to step out of what other people consider their also comfort zone, because maybe they don't feel like they have the courage to do what you're doing, you do get a lot of feedback of like, you can't do it. Are you sure? This is crazy. What about your children? There's a lot of guilt, right? And there's a lot of fear around failure. But what I want to say is like, there is really no form of failure when you stop trying, when you stop moving forward towards what you're trying to create. Like that's when you, that is a real failure. But to continue, iterate, to refinish or retry whatever it is you're working towards, I think that process of learning is important to your own development and to the projects that you're invested in. And so despite what people have to say, you above anybody else has to believe in your project and know that you're capable of accomplishing it. In regards to like even funders, right? Native women, I believe we have a lot of the business in our communities and filling in gaps. I recently attended a Native Women Lead event, and it was beautiful to see all the businesses that Native women hold just to get the needs met in their community. And that's what I love about women and the work that we do is we don't just take care of our family, we take care of our community through the work that we do and the ideas that we bring. And so funding our work, what I want to say to especially the philanthropy world is that, you know, there's so many aspects of our community where your funding goes back into our economy. So it pays for whoever we decide to contract with or the business we work with. So it actually supports our economy that way. The other thing is like most of the time, if you're a foundation, Native women or Native American funding is like 1% of your budget. And so it's really only a fraction of funding we can be receiving to push our work forward. And it's a little challenging because I've worked on the nonprofit side for so long. I know that there isn't a huge investment in our healthcare and in our communities. But I think we need to be making more demands for what our needs really are and also being authentic about the real cost to do this work. And I think what we sometimes do is we will leverage our community resources to get the work done. But that often means like families can have food sales or jewelry sales or some sort of community event to make up for the cost so you can do your work. And that's what I mean about leveraging our resources, that it's not okay that we leverage our community's, you know, low resources to do this big work. We need to be going to funders to bring that money to invest in what we're doing. And I think that's another piece is like they want a safe investment, but we are a safe investment, right? We want them to invest in our community and to our work. And it actually does bring life to our communities when that happens.
Yes, agree with all of that. And on top of that, it's also an equity and social justice issue for us to be funded at a level that is equitable to our population. Because right now we are underfunded. If you look at the statistics, specifically Native women, a little more than a quarter of all of philanthropic a 0.25%. So not 1, but divide that into 4, and we're just a little bit over 0.25%, which is insane. So, as women, we are the life givers. Every human that is walking this earth has come from us. And, when women are healed, not just families, but communities, all of us are healed. So I appreciate you.
I think it takes a lot of confidence to go into a space to be able to ask for what you need. And I think that's another part of this is Native women, we are powerful and also taught to behave in a certain way in certain spaces. We're not taught to take up space. When it comes to talking with funders about what our needs are, like being really honest and clear about what those are. But also I feel like sometimes the word partnership gets put in the language, but the partnership isn't bi-directional. The partnership is one way. And oftentimes funders look really good saying, I fund Native-led projects, but they can say that whether they fund 1% or whether they fund like one grant cycle or a funding venture to support that project. And so they get a big boost up by saying this, but we don't get very much in the end. And so when I say confidence, is like going into these conversations, knowing what your value is, knowing what your worth is, knowing what the real cost of your work is, and being able to say, no, this is what partnership looks like to me. And so my advice to up and coming people who want to do this work is like, make sure you have a very clear ask about what it is you need from funders, and don't let your lack of confidence going into that space keep you from leaving that room with what you need.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much, Nicole. It was so great to have you here today. And can you give just, if folks want to learn more about transcending strategies, where can they find you?
Right. So I just actually launched my website yesterday. So it's actually transcendingstrategies.com. So I do lots of really interesting things in regards to my work. So I do fundraising, I do grant writing, I do coaching, I do organizational development. I am a PhD student right now getting my organizational leadership degree. I do lots of writing. I've published in quite a few books and public speaking about many topics. And I really do love talking about having that conversation with funders about getting our needs met in regards to funding our passion projects. So you can chat with me about any of these things.
Great. Well, so good for you to join us today, and we'll be celebrating your PhD in the coming years.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, what an incredible afternoon of programming. Thank you so much again, Gina, for bringing all of these wonderful people together today to talk about Truthsgiving especially. And just remember, as you're sitting around your dining tables with your family, with your friends, to really just take a moment to reflect on the truth behind this holiday. Gina, I'll let you take us away here.
Yes, I'm just so grateful for the wonderful speakers today, and really encourage you to learn more. I feel like a lot of times we are just really at the starting point of the deep understanding we really need to know to go to a place of healing for not just Native people, but for all people in the U.S.
Thank
So I
you.
also invite you to come to our website and join the circle, support us. Giving Tuesday is coming up, but honestly, we don't need a Tuesday. We need allies and we need supporters all year round. www.returntoheart.org.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.